This program on women in science, technology, and business has been brought to you by Zoho Corporation.
Hello and welcome. My guest today is Anarghya Vardhana. She is an investor, a product leader, and a math whiz. And if we go by what Pew Research tells about millennials, they are confident, connected, and open to change. And I think that describes Anarghya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Confident, connected, and open to change. Would that describe you? That's how Pew Research describes millennials?
Those words sound right. I don't think that's all that describes me, but they make sense.
What am I missing?
Ooh. I think that there's other things that I would add to that. Intellectually curious, energetic, adventure-seeking, but they probably encompass a good portion of it.
And dancer.
I am a dancer, yeah. Athlete as well.
Athlete,
yep.
Okay. Let's get started with athlete. Does being a sports person from a young age, you know, participating in any kind of sport, does that give you a sense of participation and a sense of confidence that other children may lack when they're in high school or middle school?
Yeah, especially being a girl, I think, one, sports are great at providing insights on teamwork. And as you grow older and you go into companies, it's all about being able to integrate with a team, work with a team. I've led and managed teams before, and understanding how a team works is really important because you know how to inspire people, how to motivate people. And I attribute a lot of that to my early sports days. On the other hand, I think it also really helps with drive and ambition and being able to persevere. I'm a marathoner. I'm running my 6th marathon next weekend, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, and a marathon is a brutal race. It crushes every bit of you mentally and physically. They say that after a marathon, it looks like your muscles have been hit by a semi. But being able to play the mental game of pushing through that, motivating yourself, that really translates well into the work environment for me. And in terms of confidence, absolutely. I think as a young girl, when your body is changing and you don't feel like you have a lot of control over it, knowing that you have sports and you're strong and you're able and you're fast or whatever it is, brings a lot of confidence and allows you to feel like you have control over your body despite the changes.
So you remember as a teenager the changes that were taking over you?
Oh yeah, totally.
And so sports helped you with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I, to this day, remember the day I started my period and I was like, but I had a swim meet that day and there was no time to sit and brood. It was just get going. I have to go race. I have to go win this race. And I think sports made me feel really strong and really secure in my body, which is really important during those times of pretty dramatic change for a young girl.
Who got you interested in sports?
My parents are both athletes. So my mom used to be a phenomenal badminton player and golfer back in India. She used to play for different teams as well as like regional and national level teams. And so she was more of the team sport type of person. My dad is an avid extreme sports person, hiker, swimmer, biker. If it's less than 20 miles, it's lame for him. So he's very intense. And between the both of them, they really got me and my sister excited about sports. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so in Portland. So I grew up hiking, biking, swimming, doing lots of really exciting things, as well as doing more of the track and the swimming in terms of a team setting because of my mom. So both of them.
So you're very lucky that you had parents who groomed you in a way where they said participate in sports.
Absolutely.
And that built this confidence, which is something that a lot of women say.
Yeah.
So in fact, I think in a 60 Minutes interview, Sheryl Sandberg said that women have an uncomfortable relationship with power. Do you find yourself experiencing that kind of an uncomfortable relationship with power?
That statement doesn't resonate with me. So I guess I don't have an uncomfortable relationship with power, and I see it as twofold. Like one, like physical power, and a lot of people ask, why do I weightlift? And it is specifically because I feel strong. It's amazing to see the progress you can do from bench pressing a certain amount of weight one week to a month later. And the power and the strength is really important. And I think it also does translate into work and other settings where, to me, power is just confidence, knowing that I've put in the work to be able to assert myself in a setting, and knowing that I'm coming from a place of knowledge, a place of having done the background research, a place of confidence.
Were you always confident? When I say when you were always confident, I'm saying when you were a teenager, or did you kind of flounder to gain that confidence? Were you ever not confident? Let me put it that way.
Maybe I'm weird because I think I've always been pretty confident. My parents instilled that in me and my sister from a very young age through a variety of different ways. So one example is my dad would make me go talk to random people at random events.
Really?
To really build public speaking, to build confidence, to not feel shy. So we would be at Home Depot or something, and my dad would be like, look at that person over there. He looks interesting. Go say hello and ask him a question. So I would do that. And this was at like age 5, 8, 10. And so I grew up with little experiments like that he ran, which I'm actually really appreciative for now. I used to think he was so weird for making me do that back then. But it's really helped me gain that confidence and just feel like there is no one I cannot go talk to and ask questions to and learn about. And I really appreciate that skill, actually.
So your dad played a very key role there.
Oh, he's my best friend, so he plays a key role in everything.
Okay. So, and you were also good in math, and you started programming from a very young age.
Yeah.
I think you said Dr. Scheme.
Dr. Scheme, that's
so
right.
I went and looked up what Dr. Scheme was.
Okay,
So
cool.
this is I think a Lisp, based on Lisp, I think.
Yep, exactly. And it's a great introductory programming language for kids. I don't know if it exists anymore.
It does.
But okay, cool.
So
yeah.
it's iterative because it's got a dialogue box.
Exactly.
And if you make mistakes, it tells you
It tells
what
you.
So you learned programming from a young age.
Yeah.
Again, your father.
Yeah, he's an engineer. He's been at Intel for over 30 years, and he loves to code. He loves to build engineering systems. And from a very young age, I learned how to work on projects with him.
So you had a Gantt chart?
Yeah, I learned Gantt charts early. We would solder things like actually microprocessors and chips together. My sister and I would solder each other. It was fun. I built a binary adder at a very young age. So we did a lot of science projects and stuff at home growing up.
And you only applied to Stanford?
I only applied to Stanford in November of 2005. So 10 years ago, actually. 10 years ago now.
You were that confident that that's the only university you wanted to go, and if you didn't get it, did you have any plan B?
Yeah, so I applied regular.
Oh,
so
okay.
the other applications are due in January or something. So I applied and said, we'll see what happens. I found out on December 15th of 2005. Very exciting day for me. And my parents took me out to eat, and that was that.
And what did Stanford teach you? Because you didn't do engineering. You did something else, even though you were a math whiz, and I believe you wanted to major in physics.
Yeah.
But you ended up majoring in what?
I ended up majoring in an interdisciplinary major called Science, Technology, and Society. And within that, I concentrated in math and computer science. So the nice thing about Stanford, and I think most universities offer this now, is there's a lot of opportunity to really bring together different areas of interest. And I came into Stanford saying, like, I'm going to do math or physics. I'm going to be a number theorist. I'd done a lot of number theory research in high school. And I quickly realized that a big strength of mine is working with people, interacting with people, and that there's kind of larger problems that I want to solve. And it seemed like an interdisciplinary major would allow me to have the flexibility to explore a bunch of different things. And I'm very grateful for the major. I think it's the second biggest major at Stanford now. I did an honors thesis in it, had some amazing advisors across different disciplines. And it really afforded me the opportunity to learn about the historic aspect of science and technology, about what it does currently, and most importantly, realizing that technology and society are codependent. They're not separate. They actually are intertwined and evolve together.
They feed off of each other.
Exactly. And humans affect technology just as much as technology has the ability to affect humans. And that's been the case for history, since the printing press, since before that. So,
and for your thesis, you worked on cell phones.
Yes.
Now, this is very interesting because we are talking, you are what, again, the Pew Research describes as a digital native.
Yes.
So you didn't have to struggle with paper and pencil, I'm guessing, that ever since you can remember, probably you were on front of a screen.
I do remember dial-up.
Okay. But it's still the internet. It's not a paper and pencil.
Yeah.
So what drew you to study the phone? Because this was around about the time, I'm guessing, iPhone had really become a big hit.
Yeah, the iPhone actually, I think, was launched on Stanford's campus my freshman year or something. I didn't have one then. My roommate did. It was the coolest thing ever. So I studied cell phones in the rural sector of developing countries. And the thing that fascinated me was I grew up going to India every summer. A lot of my family still lives there.
Missed call.
Yeah. Well, this was before that time. So I went to India one summer, and we had a landline at my home, and that was pretty standard. And if you were outside of the home and had to go make a phone call, you'd go to a booth and you'd make a phone call, and that was pretty standard. I came back the next summer, and everybody had a cell phone. So not a smartphone, but a feature phone, but they had a cell phone, including what really blew my mind was the guy who came to our house to pluck coconuts from our tree to sell them. He was up in the tree and I hear a ring and I'm like, do you seriously have a phone? And to see that massive transition, this was when Orkut was huge in India, and there was a big blow up of this like digital expectancy, digital interest.
It hadn't happened here.
It hadn't happened here, exactly. And so that was fascinating to me to see this like immediate like jump like across the digital divide. And I wanted to see, I was especially interested in seeing if regular social constraints held true in a digital system. So specifically looking at the Indian caste system.
You looked at the caste system.
Yeah, I looked at the caste system as well as gender relationships in India and wanted to see how technology, specifically the cell phone, affected those or changed those or whatever
What
they
did you find?
I found a lot of interesting things. So one interesting thing was that social expectations around gender and caste did carry over into cellular and mobile interactions. And I think came in with the hypothesis that the cell phone would be this like massive liberation technology, liberation tool.
But it wasn't.
It has some of those traits, but yeah, it's not. It's sometimes just another way for existing systems of inequity and existing systems of injustice to be carried over into just another system. So
in some ways, it has liberated people. But I'll tell you, because round about the time you were in India, I was also in India, and I remember that there was a masseuse that we knew. My friend helped set up a phone and a notebook, and people would call, and a business just went through the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the cell phone.
Yep, you saw a lot of economic opportunities starting to flourish because of cell phones, yeah.
Yeah, so you saw that. And then you joined Google.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first day at Google?
I do remember my first day. I remember getting the offer as well. I was actually in India at my cousin's wedding.
It's not Google, it's Alphabet. Pardon me.
A little bit of both. So it was Google back then. Yeah, I remember getting the offer. It was very exciting. And I remember my first day. Back then, I don't know what it's like now, but we did very intense training, like 6 weeks of training to really get ramped up on the core product, which is AdWords, really understand it inside out, understand the type of people who are using it. And I really valued that education because I think it made me really solid on that core bread and butter of Google, and it really allowed me to do well in my job and to really shine at my time there.
And I guess you won some sort of a recognition as the best product lead or something at Google?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple awards there. So yeah, like a director's award, a gold award, a couple peer bonuses. So it was an incredible learning experience. It was the best place for me to start my career.
Did you want to join Google?
I did, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was
Why?
my top choice.
Why?
Google was the company, and I still think is one of the companies leading the way in that intersection between humans and technology. Google was really changing the way we were getting information, perceiving the world, was connecting the world in a way that was unprecedented before. And it made sense for me, given my background, my interests, to go somewhere like that was really changing. Like to have a word like Google and to turn that into a verb is amazing. That is impressive. So that was really exciting for me.
Do you use an Android phone?
So I had Android for a really long time. I really love my Android device, but what happened is as an investor, I see a lot of products, a lot of new products, and they're almost always iOS first. So I used to borrow my husband's iOS all the time to test, and now I'm just like, whatever, I'll have my own device. I'm on iPhone right now.
Okay, so let's just quickly go through what you did. In a very short period of time, you have done what people older than you still haven't accomplished. You worked at Google for 4 years. You were a project lead there. Then you went and joined a startup which didn't do well, but at one point it had the largest seed funding ever.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you went and joined a nonprofit, and then at the same time joined Rothenberg as an investor.
Yeah.
Let's just go to the startup. What did you learn from the startup world, and what was the name of the company?
Yeah, so the startup I was at after Google was called Klinkle. It was a payment startup, so focusing on peer-to-peer payments as well as human-to-merchant payments.
Using what?
Using a cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a predecessor to Venmo.
Okay.
I think we were originating around the same time. No one had really captured the market like Venmo has now. And Square Cash was also coming around then. We had a lot of opportunity, and I think a lot of really, really smart people. I'm still friends with a lot of my former teammates.
The Netflix CFO joined.
That's right. Yeah, he joined a few months after I was there. Yeah.
Oh, so you had left.
No. A few months after I had joined.
Okay.
Yeah, so we overlapped for a couple months as well.
So what did you learn there? They got 25 million, if I remember correct.
Yeah.
As the seed funding, which is, I don't know why it's called seed funding. It should be just called Series A or B or C, right?
Or D, yeah.
Yeah. But now that you're an investor, when you look back at your stint at Crinkle, what is it? Is it Crinkle or Kinkle? Clinkle.
Yeah.
Oh, kaching.
Exactly.
What is it that you learned and why did you leave the company?
Yeah. I think I had different ideas of what makes a startup successful.
Which is what?
Product seemed like an essential, and I think we had a really great idea for a product. The team seems essential. We had a great team. Money seems essential. We had a lot of money. One thing I think I definitely didn't dig so much into before was culture, and that's where we struggled a lot. Transparency between leadership and the team, culture, really feeling like everyone was tied into a common purpose, driving towards something. And yeah, we struggled a lot there. And I think at the end of the day, it made it really hard to have one solid unit that was motivated and pushing towards something that would be successful and come into the market and make people's lives better, exciting, faster, easier. So yeah, that was a big challenge. I think we had leadership challenges in terms of figuring out what decisions needed to be made, what features needed to be pushed out. It took us a long time to get anything out.
Are you talking in retrospect? Are you looking at retrospect, or were you aware of it when you were in the company that something was not gelling? The reason I ask is because a lot of people want to join startups and they may not be aware that the landscape in the startup world is very different. You will have landmines in unexpected places.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So what you're telling me now is this distilled information, or did you kind of experience it but didn't know? Was your husband with you in the same company?
Yeah, we were in the same company.
So what was the dinner table conversation like?
We talked a lot about work.
So did you both feel that something was not right?
Yeah, I think in retrospect, obviously it's much, much clearer. But at the time, a couple months in, we both started realizing that there were several challenges. Of course, it was my first experience at a startup. My husband had been at startups before that. So I think between the two of us, we were able to have discussions and see that there were challenges that we were experiencing that a couple months in did not seem insurmountable. It seemed like we could push through them and really have a successful opportunity there. But after 9-10 months in, it became, I think, clearer and clearer that this was a really big uphill battle. And for me personally, I really need to feel like the people I'm working with are respected, are valued, and it's always treated ethically. And there was challenges around that as well. So it made sense to part ways and try something different.
And you mentioned culture. So the next company you joined as an investor was Rothenberg.
Yeah.
And Rothenberg Ventures, I believe, may have inspired Silicon Valley's, the second season's premiere. Because Rothenberg's culture is very different from what I've read. I've never been to any of your parties, but you seem to have these very interesting parties that Rothenberg throws. A puppy party?
So Rothenberg Ventures is very focused on building community. So we realized that relationships can be pretty easily maintained on phone, on email and stuff, but oftentimes they do need to be formed in person. It's hard to just email someone and feel like you have a relationship with them. And venture in the startup world is very relationship based. You can seek help, you can build a network, you can hire your next person through these relationships. So early on, we realized that we could add a lot of value for our companies and for the overall startup and tech ecosystem by having events where people are able to make connections. So these range from like tech talks, where we bring in a luminary or someone, a thought leader in the space, and have them talk to a group of 20 to 30 people about their experiences, challenges they've experienced, where the wins were, where the losses were, so that our companies as well as other people can really learn from that. Host a lot of like subject-specific dinners. So this is like on-demand dinner. So companies that are in the on-demand space, and how do they think about the challenges? What are the things they're doing? So things like that.
What a fantastic idea that you have this in-person dinner where you meet and you can get a sense.
Exactly.
So at Rothenberg, you were doing virtual reality.
Yeah, Rothenberg Ventures has a very strong focus on frontier technology, so technologies that are really pushing the boundaries.
Like drones?
Drones, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality. Started out with a very strong thesis in virtual reality, and that's been amazing. We have several investments in that space and are more and more expanding into frontier technology, so companies in artificial intelligence, drones, 3D printing, all those things.
What was the exciting thing for you when you were involved with VR, virtual reality? What was it exciting for you?
Yeah, I still remember the first time I tried VR. It was Altspace VR, which is a portfolio company. And it was with me and my sister, actually. So we both were sitting across the table just like this. We had our headsets on, and it's fully immersive, so you cannot see.
Is it a cardboard one? Or
No, we had the Oculus DK1 on. Yeah, Developer Kit 1, fully immersed, cannot see outside of it. And in that virtual environment, there were a bunch of boxes, and I could see my sister in the environment, and I could throw things at her, which was just so cool. It was a pretty simple experience at the time. This was over a year and a half ago. And I remember just being mind blown at how realistic it was, how much presence I felt. And after that, just did so many other experiences and really fell in love with the technology and saw that it had immense potential to change the way we interact, the way we perceive the world around us, creativity, design. Just it will really touch every single industry.
So what would be the applications of VR besides gaming?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I feel very strongly that it will affect every single industry. So some of the portfolio companies we have are in the education space. So imagine, learning about ancient Rome in a book or in a video
or
versus
surgery,
yeah,
medical.
Versus actually being directly in it. So one of our companies called Discover, they have a fully immersive education experience, so you can walk around ancient Rome and see the different sites. And imagine a student being able to do that and really learn and have that really click. And like you mentioned, surgery. So for surgical students, they can experience a surgery in a virtual environment. They can be inside the intestine, see where the issues are and the challenges are. It's really powerful, and I think it will allow us to do things that were previously unprecedented.
That's mind-blowing.
It's amazing, yeah.
So did you go through lots of VR companies? And VR and women, so two questions for you.
Okay.
What are the VR companies, and is Bay Area the hotbed for VR and women? That's something that you've been focused on, VR
absolutely.
and women.
Yeah, so to answer your first question in terms of, we scoured the ends of the earth to find the best VR talent, to learn, most importantly, because we did have to quickly develop an expertise in the space. Our first class in River, which is a program for really fast-growing frontier technology companies, actually covered all of the continents except for Antarctica, which was really exciting.
But that's the frontier continent in some ways.
Antarctica. Next time we'll find one.
Because you can send drones there.
Exactly. And yeah, Silicon Valley is a great place to be for virtual reality.
The valley or the city?
I don't see a strong differentiation between the two. You can get from one to the other in 40 minutes or so. Oculus is obviously at Facebook and are big thought leaders in the space. Altspace VR, another big thought leader, is down here in Redwood City. Jaunt, also a huge leader in the space, is down in Palo Alto on University. So a lot of great companies down here in the Peninsula area, but also a ton of amazing companies in San Francisco. So VR is doing a really good job here, but there's also a ton of interest, a ton of traction in LA, in New York.
Because of the entertainment industry.
Yeah. Lots of, Disney has been playing around with some interesting things. Steven Spielberg has. So there's interest in LA, there's interest in New York. New York VR meetup, I think, is the second biggest VR meetup after Silicon Valley. So, and then specifically in terms of women, I'm really passionate about making sure that women are working in VR, building in VR, investing in VR. If we do believe that this is the next platform, that this is the next mobile, the next internet, I think it's a great place to make sure that we're getting it right from the beginning, making sure that there's more gender equity, and have done a lot of work in terms of trying to make sure that that's happening. The River program has, I think, an unprecedented percentage of women. It was like 25% women in the class, which has been amazing, which is more than I think many other accelerators or programs can boast. And the women in that have been amazing. So Yuka is the CEO of Fove, which is an eye tracking VR company, a head-mounted display. She's based in Japan, but kind of does back and forth. And she was on the cover of Forbes Japan. Just an amazing leader, really inspirational. So I've had the privilege of working with some awesome women leaders in VR and working with some women developers to host events and stuff like that.
So you've moved on. You've joined Maveron,
Yeah.
which is, I would say, an older company. It's not a millennial investor company like Rothenberg is. Maveron was founded in 1998, I want to say.
Yeah. Had an early investment in eBay and some really big pillars in the tech community.
Why are you moving?
Yeah, so I had a really incredible experience at Rothenberg Ventures, learned a lot, and it was my first experience in venture, which I am eternally grateful for. Excited to try something different, to work with people at Maveron who have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years and see what it was like when they invested in eBay and what happened, what was the thought process there. So I think I'm always a learner. Obviously, Google was the dream job and the best place to be, and leaving that was a tough decision, but it allowed me to learn, and I learned some more after that, and I think I'm continuing in an opportunity to learn, explore, grow. And relationships matter the most to me. I think that's the number one thing in my life. And if you ask my friends and family, they'll say relationships matter the most to me. And I'm very grateful for the relationships I've built at all the places I've been, as well as Rothenberg Ventures. And I'm excited to kind of continue in the full ecosystem of venture and work together with a lot of really amazing people. And
focus on consumer technology.
Yeah. Maveron's really exciting for me because they are consumer only, and they invest in some amazing consumer brands and technologies and have investments like General Assembly and Groupon and lots of really cool things. So it'll be great to contribute to that team, learn from that team, and try to find some really amazing consumer applications and brands myself.
So we have 2 more minutes left, so
okay.
2 quick questions.
Yeah.
Since you worked in UI, user interface, and user experience, assuming 2 people have the same kind of sensitization, if one of them has an engineering degree, does it hinder or help? This question came from a viewer.
Oh, okay. So in terms of being a user experience specialist or researcher?
Yeah.
I think it's just different perspectives. Engineers have a special way of thinking, and they're building the product. So I think they understand what a user's interaction will do to the back end and how they can change that. And I think for me, as someone who's not in the code, I bring my own perspective, and I think I'm able to wear different hats of someone who's less technologically savvy or more technologically savvy. I think both have their ups and downs, but both also bring really amazing perspective to the table.
Okay. Another question from another viewer.
Yeah.
Because they know that you're very rational and very logical, so they wanted to know, have you ever experienced where your rational and logical side clashed with your gut instinct and emotional side? And if they did, how did you react to it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think I'm a sensitive person, and I think for me, it's really trying to get all the information. So the rational, logical side will look at the facts, will look at kind of the tangible pieces. And the emotional side will look at, what is best for me, for the people around me? Am I being empathetic to the situation? And I try my best to really marry those two. It's definitely tough in some instances, especially if you're like running ahead. But yeah, trying to find the best of both worlds has been important for me.
In one word, who do you turn to for advice?
My dad.
Anarghya, it was a pleasure to talk to you. We wish we had more time, but thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us.
Yeah.
We wish you all the best with Maveron.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll come back again.
Absolutely, would love to. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Not at all. And thank you for watching. We'll be back again with another show next week. And if you missed any of our shows, you can watch them on our YouTube channel. And as always, thank you for tuning in.
This program on women in science, technology, and business has been brought to you by Zoho Corporation.